Hey guys, welcome back, or maybe welcome for the first time. Tonight we're doing something a little different, but don't panic. It's still history, still royals, still strange family trees that look more like tangled telephone wires than branches. The only difference is that tonight we're going to experience it all through the eyes of a small, quiet girl who somehow stumbled into the worst kind of gift you can give a child. A magical watch that doesn't tell time, it takes you through it. So, as always, dim the lights, get your blanket, maybe your sleepy tea, and let's just drift together. We're going to wander across centuries, palaces, and banquet halls that smelled suspiciously like boiled cabbage. And we'll see the people inside them. Kings, queens, children who were adored or ignored, all the messy, soft, and slightly sad bits of their lives. And our guide, the one carrying us along, is this little girl with a pocket watch she doesn't fully understand. She wasn't a royal herself, just a small person in an ordinary modern town. Her house was one of those plain brick ones where the walls echo too much and the neighbors complain if your grass grows half an inch over the line. She was the kind of child adults described as quiet, which really just meant she preferred books and old movies over the shrill chaos of playground tag. One rainy evening, while poking around the forgotten drawers in her grandmother's house, because what else do you do when the power goes out, she found the watch. It wasn't fancy, just heavy, gold-colored, and clearly older than her grandmother, maybe older than the house itself. The cover had a crack across it like a crooked smile. Inside, the hands didn't move. They just twitched occasionally, like they were nervous. Naturally, being about 9 years old and raised on the kind of cartoons where magical objects show up in dusty attics, she wound it up. Because of course she did. And in that moment, before she even had time to feel dramatic, the floor sort of tilted, the air thickened, and then she was gone. Her first landing wasn't glamorous. She didn't wake up in Versailles, surrounded by silk and violins. No, she was in a damp stone corridor that smelled like hay and people who hadn't invented soap yet. Welcome to the Middle Ages. Now, she didn't scream. She didn't even cry. She just sat down on the cold floor and blinked. That's what happens when your personality is more quietly confused than panicked. The first person she saw was a boy about her age, though he technically was supposed to be a prince. His name was Baldwin V of Jerusalem, and he was already a child king. Except, spoiler alert, Baldwin V was also one of history's many sad royal children who never stood much of a chance. Let's float into his life a little. Baldwin was born into the Crusader states, which were already basically castles built on quicksand. Everyone was fighting over everything. Land, titles, holy relics, lunch, you name it. Baldwin's mother, Sibylla, was trying to hold things together while nobles circled like cats around a tuna can. The problem, Baldwin was sick. He had some kind of wasting illness, maybe tuberculosis, maybe something else equally grim. But in any case, he wasn't exactly the poster child for long, glorious reigns. He was more the wrapped in blankets, pale and coughing type of monarch. Our little traveler sat beside him, just watching as he tried to hold court. Imagine a room full of armored men arguing loudly while this tiny boy sat on a throne that was basically swallowing him. He had the crown, yes, but the energy of a kid who needed a nap more than he needed a kingdom. And Baldwin V didn't last long. By the age of 8, he was gone. The nobles barely paused before fighting over who got his crown next. That's medieval politics for you. Funerals as prelude to fistfights. Our little traveler didn't stay for the squabbling. The watch twitched in her pocket, and just like that, she was pulled away again. This time, she landed in Spain, specifically in a palace where everything was gold-trimmed but still somehow drafty. She found herself staring at another child, one who looked more like a porcelain doll than a real human. Meet Charles II of Spain, often called the Bewitched. Charles was the ultimate product of Habsburg inbreeding, which is saying a lot because that family tree is less a tree and more a pretzel. His jaw was so oversized and droopy, it was almost its own personality. Eating was a challenge. Speaking was a challenge. Thinking clearly, also a challenge. And yet, here he was, technically the King of Spain. He'd inherited the throne as a child, and the courtiers treated him like some fragile glass ornament. His mother, Mariana of Austria, basically ran things while Charles just sat there, drooling into expensive lace. Our traveler sat in the corner, watching the endless rituals. Servants dressed him. Servants fed him. Servants probably reminded him to breathe. The court doctors tried all sorts of remedies because why not experiment on the king? They bled him, they gave him potions, they prayed loudly in his face. None of it helped. Charles lived into adulthood, but it wasn't exactly thriving. He was lonely, mocked, and medically miserable. His reign is remembered not for glory, but for being the grand finale of Habsburg genetic misadventures. The little girl didn't say anything. She just watched, quietly, the way you might watch a candle flicker out. And then the watch buzzed again. Off she went. Now she was in England, Tudor England, to be precise, which sounds glamorous until you realize it was full of drafty halls, religious whiplash, and way too many people named Mary. She found herself in the nursery of Edward VI. He was the only surviving son of Henry VIII. Yes, that Henry, the guy who collected wives like Pokemon cards and treated most of them about as well. Edward was supposed to be the great hope of the Tudor dynasty. A boy, finally! But in reality, Edward was another one of those fragile child kings. He was intelligent, yes, but sickly. Thin, pale, coughing fits, the works. Everyone pinned their political dreams on him, but the poor kid probably just wanted to lie down. Our traveler sat by his bed one evening as he scribbled in his diary. His entries were matter-of-fact, almost boring, like, "Today I went hunting. It was cold." Not exactly Shakespearean, but then again, when you're 12 and already responsible for the religious destiny of your kingdom, maybe flat understatement is the only coping strategy. Edward died at 15. The kingdom scrambled again, tossing Lady Jane Grey into the chaos, followed by Mary I, and so on. History kept marching, as indifferent as always. And the little girl? She just drifted away with her watch, silent, like a shadow moving through centuries. By now, she was starting to notice a theme. These royal children weren't exactly fairy tale princes and princesses. They weren't dancing at balls or living happily ever after. They were sick, pressured, or simply miserable, wearing crowns too heavy for their small heads. But the watch didn't care. It kept pulling her along. Next, she found herself in France, staring at a boy who looked like he should have been running in fields. Not wearing ermine. This was Louis XVII, the son of Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette. Except by the time she saw him, the French Revolution had already swallowed their parrots. Louis XVII was locked in a tower, the Temple, while revolutionaries decided what to do with him. Spoiler, it wasn't much. He wasted away in isolation, neglected, lonely, treated more like a dangerous object than a child. By the age of 10, he was dead, his little body riddled with disease. Our traveler sat quietly in that damp cell for a moment, her small hand brushing the wall. She didn't cry, she just watched, the way she always did, and thought maybe crowns weren't such good gifts after all. And then the watch ticked. I'll pause us here because we've floated through a handful of centuries already. A girl with a broken-looking watch, drifting quietly from one royal childhood to another, each one a mix of silk, sickness, and sadness. And trust me, we're just getting started.